Are Liverpool set to turn their attention to Sporting Lisbon's Ruben Amorim as the search for the successor to Jurgen Klopp continues? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, today's video is going to centre around the big news that has been circulating the past 24 hours or so in regard to Xabi Alonso. But the particular layer of the story that we're going to be focusing on, as well as Alonso, is of course what it means for Liverpool Football Club. My club, the club that I loved and supported ever since I was a young boy. That is obviously a big story in itself, because Xabi Alonso was top, or seemingly or reportedly top of Liverpool's list to succeed Jurgen Klopp at the end of the season when the German manager is set to leave Liverpool come the end of the campaign. Xabi Alonso was top of the list to succeed him. Well, reports have suggested, and obviously it's been now confirmed within the past 24 hours or so, that Xabi Alonso has opted to stay at Bayer Leverkusen for at least another season, as opposed to going to one of Liverpool or Bayern Munich that were heavily interested in taking him as their next manager. We're going to be talking about Liverpool. We're going to be talking about Amorim, who has emerged as the now top favourite and top contender to succeed Jurgen Klopp at the end of the season. And we're also going to be talking a little bit more about Xabi Alonso in more detail as well. But before we go any further and talking about all of this, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. Also, get involved in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think and feel, your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure we're waiting for great and interesting reading about this particular topic down below. So please do get involved down there. But without further ado, let's get on with the channel. Let's get on with the video. Let's get on with talking about Alonso, Amorim, Liverpool, and everything else in between. Look, massive news that's obviously broke in the past 24 hours or so. Something that was a little bit unexpected, I might say. I think the overall consensus was that Alonso was destined to leave this summer. And then obviously it's now emerged that he's going to be staying at Bayer Leverkusen, and fair play to him. We'll get on to Alonso a little bit later on in the video. But what it has meant in the knock-on effect is that Liverpool and Bayern Munich now need to look elsewhere for a new manager, it seems. Liverpool especially. And now it means that their top target, or reported top target, is now going to be missed. So Liverpool will now have to go to a second choice. Maybe even a third choice down the line. Who knows? Not that it's exactly hurt Liverpool in the past, has it? Liverpool know all about having to not settle for their top choice. I mean, Jurgen Klopp didn't exactly want Mohamed Salah. He wasn't exactly top choice on his list, but look how well that's turned out. That's been pretty successful, hasn't it? Even for this past summer, last summer, with Endo coming in. Look how well he's done, as opposed to Romeo Lavia and Moises Caicedo. Okay, it may be a one-season thing right now, but for right now, it has worked out and worked out well. So it hasn't stopped Liverpool before from having to go down the pecking order of their choices. So I don't necessarily think it will be too big of an issue for them. But for me, it's a little bit annoying, because I thought Xabi Alonso would be perfect for the Liverpool role, and I'm a bit annoyed that that's not going to happen as of right now. There are also people out there who are not overwhelmed or excited by the fact of Ruben Amorim now being the top contender to succeed Jurgen Klopp at the end of the season. Some people saying it's a drop-off from Jurgen Klopp, and to those people I have to question, what exactly were you expecting? Because the only person that I personally see as being above Klopp is one Pep Guardiola, and Guardiola certainly isn't going to be coming to Liverpool anytime soon. So I don't know exactly what you're expecting. Any other manager below them two in particular is going to be a drop-off. Alonso certainly would have been a drop-off as well. Maybe not in terms of potential, but maybe in terms of the here and now. It would have been a drop-off. I don't exactly know what those kind of fans were expecting. But here we are in the aftermath of the Xabi Alonso news, with the news now that Liverpool are turning their attention to Ruben Amorim of Sporting Lisbon. Now, what do we know about Amorim? He is turning heads himself. He is a younger manager than Xabi Alonso. He's 39 years of age. He's turning plenty of heads with what he's doing and what he has done already at Sporting Lisbon over the past few years. He was previously at Braga. Sporting then took him away from them to be their manager. He took over at the end of the 2019-2020 season, and then in his first full season with the Portuguese outfit, won them the Portuguese league, breaking that stranglehold that Porto and Benfica had on the Portuguese league. So already he's got something to his name already in terms of, winning a Premier League title. All right, it may be in the Portuguese league, but it's winning a title nonetheless. He's also a 2-time Portuguese League Cup winner, so he's got a bit of pedigree to his name and a bit of success to his name as well. It may be the Portuguese League, and people may turn their nose up at the Portuguese League, but let's face it, that league has been increasing in quality and has been increasing in notoriety these past several years, to the point where many Premier League teams are turning towards that league in terms of finding new talent and good quality talent at that. There's been a number of players that have been transferred over the years from the Portuguese League to the Premier League. Maybe managers might not necessarily be so different. And like I say, Amorim is certainly someone who has turned in a few heads and is already gaining notoriety and is already being heavily sought of by a number of teams across Europe. So he certainly does have something to his name in terms of what he's already achieved at Sporting Lisbon, and why Sporting Lisbon wanted to obviously pay him out of his contract at Braga before obviously going to the Sporting outfit. As far as tactical awareness goes, he plays a very tactical and flexible 3-4-3 formation, which of course, as we know, is becoming a bit more popular in England year by year. He mainly focuses on the wing play with wing backs and obviously wingers further afield, heavily focusing on that area to not only win back possession in transition, but to also try and make the pitch as wide as possible, should I say, in order to spring attacks and to fill the spaces in key areas. And of course, the central midfield will then be important to fill in those gaps, whether it be defensively or attacking, or in an attacking manner. He favours a high press approach with high intensity, high tenacity, high energy and high work rate. It's not too dissimilar from Jurgen Klopp, apart from maybe the formation side of things. But of course, with that formation, it does mean, is he a bit more pragmatic? Is he a bit more defensive minded? Absolutely not. The aggression in transition is something that I think Liverpool fans will instantly get on board with. The transition between defence into attack and pushing up and playing that higher line to be more aggressive regardless of the opponent seems to be something that we want to see more of. We obviously would love to see that kind of football be played because it's high tempo, it's exhilarating, it's exciting to watch, and I think if it can be executed perfectly, we could be in for a real treat with this guy. I'm not going to lie and sit here and say that this is my first choice guy. My first choice guy, if you remember, was De Zerbi. And then the more that I heard about Alonso, the more that I saw of Alonso, the more that I heard Alonso speak, that was when Alonso overtook De Zerbi, in my opinion. And then I think I mentioned 1 or 2 times in previous videos and streams that I've been hearing more and more about this Amorim guy. I'm not a religious supporter of the Portuguese league by any means, so a lot of this information is basically what I've heard and what I've researched. There is a small bit in here from the tiny few games that I have watched across, the Sporting Lisbon being in Europe, Sporting Lisbon playing the big Portuguese games in their domestic league. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I know this guy inside and out. I had to do quite a fair bit of research and everything on this guy, so there is that to his name as well. But the more that I see of him, the more I am intrigued by the prospect of this guy coming into Liverpool and taking over from Jurgen Klopp and being the successor to Jurgen Klopp. As far as what he seems to be as a person, he seems to have the tactical knowledge to one day maybe become a top-class manager. Of course, he's not there yet, but he's still very, very young in the game. He's 39 years of age, but his tactical knowledge and nuance, as well as his motivation and being a motivator in that dressing room, obviously seems big enough for Sporting Lisbon to have gone on to achieve what they have done over the years. And when you also look at underneath the surface, when you scratch the surface and you look at what he's had to deal with at Sporting Lisbon, he's been brilliant. He's been absolutely brilliant. When you consider the amount of players that Sporting have lost over the years in terms of, of Pedro Porro and Manuel Ugarte and João Palhinha and Mateus Nunes and there's someone I can't. There's another one that I can't remember the name of. But when you consider that he's lost them big name players, and again, most of them went to the Premier League. So when you consider that he lost a number of those key players to continue to have Sporting be on a challenging level, he may not have won the Premier League, the Portuguese league title, a year after his first full season there, but they've been competitive and they've obviously won a couple of other trophies in the midst as well. So there is definitely something to this guy, and when you consider that he will be going to, with all due respect, Sporting Lisbon, if he did go to Liverpool, he'd be going to a bigger club with better players. He can execute his tactics in a better manner or in a more efficient way with the way that obviously the players are. And of course, with being a bigger team, he can maybe get the players that he wants in. He can also keep the players that he wants in rather than be forced to sell them. So there may be a lot more to this game, and there may actually be a lot more to come from this guy should he join a bigger club like Liverpool, which is obviously going to be exciting if he does, because the more, like I say, that I read of this guy and hear of this guy, the more I am certainly intrigued by it. And again, I would love to have had Alonso, but that's just not the world that we're living in right now, unfortunately. Not only has he shown how adaptable he is, both on the pitch in terms of his formation, which of course is a 3-4-3, which he can adapt and play 5 at the back, or he can adapt to move them into midfield, move the centre-backs into midfield, or a centre-back into midfield to make it a 4 at the back, and to make that extra man drop into midfield to overload that midfield area. Not only is he known for being adaptable and flexible in that kind of area, he's also shown he can work with youngsters as well. And what Liverpool have right now is so much potential with what we've got in terms of squad personnel. When you look at the players that we have in terms of the older players, we know what we're going to get from them. But when you look at the youngsters that we've got, the ones that are coming through, the ones that especially this year have particularly made a name for themselves, the likes of your Connor Bradleys, the likes of your I can never remember. Why can I never remember his frigging name? Jayden Danns. We'll go with Jayden Danns because that's the little guy. Bobby Clark. I can never remember Bobby Clark. I don't understand why. When you look at the likes of your Connor Bradleys, your Bobby Clarks, and your Jayden Danns, and so on and so forth, you've got a lot of youngsters there that are exciting prospects for the future. I'm sure Amorim would love to work with those youngsters and help their development even more so. He's already shown it at Sporting. He already brought through the likes of Mateus Nunes, and obviously he's brought through a couple of others as well, in the likes of Usman Diomande and Gonzalo Inacio. I hope I'm pronouncing that. I can never pronounce it right. I'm never good with names. I don't like names. I'm never good with pronouncing names. But I'm pronouncing that name right because, again, those two in particular, Diomande and Inacio, I think I'm just giving him two pronunciations of their name. Anyway, you know who I'm on about. I know who I'm on about. So we're good, yeah? We're good. We're cool. Those two in particular, highly rated, highly sought of. And maybe if he comes to Liverpool, you never know. Maybe you could tempt them over. Big transfers in the summer, maybe. It remains to be seen. But my point here is that he works well with those youngsters and has helped brought through them youngsters. As well as obviously working with the players that he did have that obviously went on to be sold. He's very good at working with the younger type of player. And obviously, like I say, with Liverpool, we've got an abundance of them coming through the youth academy. We've also got youngsters still within our ranks at a senior level as well. Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones to an extent, the likes of them in particular, I'm sure will thrive under the way that he wants to play and the way that obviously he wants to go about his business in playing football. And with the way that he plays, I'm sure that they will fit in pretty nicely. So all of that stuff seems to combine together and paint a really intriguing picture of Amorim as the Liverpool manager. Everything there from having at least some sort of pedigree under his belt at such a young age of winning in a league. Obviously, it's all gonna be a question, and there's always going to be a big question hanging over his head. Can he obviously transform that form that he's shown and everything that he's shown in the Portuguese league into a much more physically battling, much more, with all due respect again, much more competitive league in that, which is the Premier League, than the Portuguese league? That's always going to be a big question hanging over his shoulders. But I feel like with the right players, with the right backing and everything, he can. And especially with Liverpool getting Michael Edwards back into a position of real power, getting Richard Hughes, a highly sought of sporting director, in, the infrastructure is taking shape. The manager is next on the list. He's the next big priority. And if it ain't going to be Alonso, De Zerbi's football might look beautiful on the eye, but the more and more that I see, the more and more I sort of have my doubts about him. Amorim, there's always going to be doubts over his youth to an extent, or over his age, over his maybe inexperience. But the more I look at him, the more I think it's a gamble worth taking. We take this gamble now, we could be sat here laughing in a few years' time with a few more trophies under to add to our collection, a few more winners' medals to add to our collection. All of that good stuff could come from this guy. Like I say, if he's highly sought of, there is definitely something to this guy. He's won he's won 3 big trophies over in Portugal in terms of the Portuguese league itself, a couple of league cups as well, and the way that he plays seems to be very exciting and very sort of unique and different to what the rest of the Premier League is doing. Although the 3-4-3, like I say, is becoming more and more popular over here, it's still something that hasn't completely been executed perfectly, not since probably Antonio Conte with Chelsea several years ago, but it's still something that maybe could be set for years to come. I'm intrigued by Amorim. I would be interested for Amorim. Just a quick note on, and I obviously want to know what you guys think on that, but just a quick note before we get into all of that on Alonso as well. His decision to stay has obviously hit the world of football hard. It's interesting. It's understandable. I think his decision to stay has been very understandable. He obviously wants to make a smart decision by staying rather than maybe take a huge gamble, when he probably doesn't need to take a huge gamble, in all honesty, by taking a big leap towards a much bigger club, with all due respect to Leverkusen, in the form of a Bayern Munich or a Liverpool. He can grow gradually in the game. His expectations can grow gradually, and he can see how he does next season. If he does go on to win the Bundesliga title, or obviously have to see how well he does in defending the Bundesliga title, and obviously with the Champions League football that's going to come next season for Leverkusen, he can obviously see how he fares in that competition as well. So I understand. I also did put out a short video yesterday, and I did question at the end whether or not Alonso maybe is saving himself up for a bigger prize in the form of the Real Madrid job, which could be very interesting depending on how Real Madrid view things in about a year or two's time. So I understand with Alonso, it's annoying, it's frustrating. I would have loved Alonso at my club, but there you have it. That's just the way sometimes the cookie crumbles. Amorim, though, does look very intriguing, to say the least, and I'm sure that there's going to be some big movement on him, whether it's me or whether it's my club or me, and I've got nothing to do with it, whether it's my club or whether it's going to be another club out there that may be looking to pick him off of the bones of Sporting Lisbon. So be interesting to see how this one goes. Be interesting to see. Keep your eye on Amorim. Keep your eye on maybe other contenders as well, like your De Zerbi's, that's still floating around in the background as well, or maybe anyone else that's waiting in the wings. Should be very interesting to see the manager's search for Liverpool continue. But one thing we do know is that it won't be Xabi Alonso, but Ruben Amorim could be moving very, very quickly, depending on obviously what happens going forward. These are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all of this Xabi Alonso, Ruben Amorim stuff? Who do you think will become the next Liverpool manager to succeed Jurgen Klopp at the end of the season? Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, down below in the comment section. I'm sure it'll make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always very greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you all again very, very soon.